Hello, Christian Life Academy family. My name is Ben Griggs. I am privileged to have served as president of the board of directors over the past 10 years. I'm also a CLA parent. My son Brandon is going into 8th grade at CLA next year. In the time that I've been on the board, we've tried several different ways of holding the annual meeting, as required by our bylaws. This year, thanks to the uncertainty of the COVID-19 situation, we plan to conduct the annual meeting using similar technology to what we were forced to use to deliver addresses and chapels to our students this spring. Even as statewide restrictions eased, we decided to continue down the path of recording our annual meeting and delivering it online, as this is probably the most convenient way for most of you to attend. Before we get to the meeting, I wanted to say a few things on behalf of the school board. First, I want to extend an enormous thank you to our staff, who works tirelessly even under normal circumstances. This spring, we asked them to, on the fly, learn how to conduct electronic distance learning for an undetermined length of time. Not only did we not hear a single complaint from the staff, but my perception as a parent was that CLA continued to deliver education to my child in a way that was superior to that of my kids attending school through other districts. This staff cares not only for our children's education, but for their eternal well-being. To the staff at CLA, thank you. Secondly, to the parents of CLA students. I know the unexpected turn of events was hard on our families. Personally, I had to go reread Newton's third law at one point in order to help Brandon with his homework. It had been quite a few years since I'd thought about the laws of physics. To the families who sacrificed time and exhibited understanding when the school year abruptly changed, thank you. Lastly, to CLA students who logged into Zoom meetings every day, who struggled to figure out where all of your different assignments were posted, and who powered through to the end of the year, despite missing out on things like spring sports, the science fair, reward trips, and graduation. Thank you. You are the reason we do what we do. Many of you are probably wondering what next year is going to look like. I know from some of the questions we received that there is a desire to get back into the building. I can speak for the board when I say that it is also our desire and our intention to get students back into the building in some form, starting this fall. That said, we are doing several things to ensure student safety, including monitoring recommendations from the CDC and Illinois Department of Education, and surveying the plans of surrounding schools with regards to re-entry. We'll share more details as we get closer to the beginning of the school year. Before I turn the meeting over to Josh, I have one last housekeeping item. We've created a survey for any questions or feedback you may have as a result of this meeting. The link is included below in the comments or video description. Be aware that the survey does ask for your contact information in case we need to contact you to answer any questions. With that, I'll turn the meeting over to CLA Principal and Administrator Josh Horning.
Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you as well to our annual meeting. And I'll just be going through a few slides here and explaining to you some of the things that have gone on during the past year at Christian Life Academy. I appreciate everyone, students, families, supporters, staff. Everyone has done just a wonderful and amazing job at Christian Life Academy this year in what has been the most challenging and interesting and unique school year we have ever had. So let's move on and take a look at the annual meeting. We've been blessed by a wonderful school board, and you see their names listed here. Mr. Ben Griggs has been our board president for many years, and I have just been blessed to have him lead the school board and all of these wonderful people. Aaron Berkey is our treasurer, Ann Lawson is our secretary, and the entire board does a wonderful job of leading our school, giving direction, and helping out in many, many, many different areas. So I appreciate our school board and just am blessed to have their leadership at our school. You see a long list here of our staff. And some of the individuals listed here are full-time staff who serve many hours every day. Some of them are part-time staff who serve as few as 1 or 2 classes or part-time during the day, but we are blessed to have wonderful staff. I'll just point out a few highlights. Amy Bowman has been with us since the very beginning, and her role this year in leading the primary kindergarten through second grade age group has been just astounding. Christy Espenschied is new this year in student support. Mrs. Gibson in the library, and also taking on some roles in elementary as well. Christy Gillis has been here for several years as a middle school teacher. Rick Giovanetto served one semester this past fall as a high school English teacher. Angela Golden has had several roles, including over the past 2 years, adding preschool leadership to her role. Melanie Hasty teaches elective courses in the middle school. Marie Hopkins is our reading support specialist, as well as our lead teacher in third and fourth grades. That's myself there, the principal. I also teach high school math courses. If I didn't introduce you to myself earlier, my name is Josh Horning. I'm the principal administrator here at Christian Life Academy. My wife, Lori Horning, for many, many years has served in both volunteer and staff roles as our office manager, and she will be transitioning this year. Over the summertime, she has taken on another job at another ministry and will not be with us as a staff person, but I just have appreciated Lori's many, many years and hours of work here at the school. Amanda Stribling is our lead high school teacher and a music teacher, and she is taking on the amazing task of developing our high school. Does a great job, and also I will add is an amazing tech support person and has done so much tech support specifically over the last couple of months at our school. Daryl Stribling teaches high school Bible here. He is a wonderful asset to our staff, as well as Steve Wagner, who is our middle school Bible teacher. Both Daryl and Steve being local pastors, that just adds a great, I guess you would say, add a spice to the way we do high school Bible. To have pastors there and middle school Bible, it's just a great way to do our Bible courses. Our students are blessed. Wendy Wesley came on this spring as the new office manager and administrative assistant. She is learning her task, her job from Lori. And so she will be taking on that role this fall, is already taking on the role, but will be full-time in that role later this summer and fall. And Sherry Young is our middle school coordinator and just does a wonderful job leading in that aspect. So we are blessed to have a staff that is just serving the Lord together. One of my favorite things that has happened during, and I'll be saying this a couple of times during the annual meeting, over the past couple of months, how school has been different. But one of the things that has been a blessing to me is to be able to have weekly staff Zoom meetings and to pray together as a staff. And every one of these individuals gives of so much of their time and encourages students and just loves on the kids, but also takes their professional job of being a teacher 100% seriously. And we are blessed to have a great staff at Christian Life Academy. We did have a few new things that came on board this year at Christian Life Academy. When we started these new adventures, we didn't know what the end of the school year was going to hold, but a couple of the pieces that we are building are in our high school, and that is to add some extracurricular activities, some sports for our high school students. We have a growing high school program, so we added high school volleyball for the girls this past fall and high school basketball for both boys and girls over the winter. And both of those programs, we combined our current enrolled CLA students with homeschool students to be able to form those teams. And it was just a blessing to have those activities going on in the school building in the fall and winter. Now, something that we weren't necessarily planning for extensively was online learning and remote learning. And as everyone in the world knows, the necessity of doing that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the final 2 year, felt like 2 years, the final 2 months of our school year was spent remotely. We had already done some planning and organizing for that prior to that situation due to severe weather days and so on. So we had some of those things in the works, But our staff and our parents and our students did an amazing job of transitioning in a situation where we did not intend until March 13th to transition in that way. But we learned a lot from our online learning and our remote learning by necessity. And we discovered that education can be accomplished in ways that we maybe didn't expect. So those were some new things that we had during the 1920 school year. I want to talk with you a little bit about our enrollment. We have been consistent over the past several years, 85 to 95 students in our pre-K through high school program. This current past the year that we just completed, we had 90 students. You can see the breakdown there. Middle school, 5th through 8th grade is our largest, I guess you would say, per grade level area. And that continues. That's been a consistent thing for many years, that middle school is our strongest area. High school is working towards being a similar setup. And as we enroll additional preschool and kindergartners, we see elementary coming along as well. So 90 total students. And if you add on students and families that are served through our daycare programs, we have about 105 students that we serve at Christian Life Academy. And that was where our numbers were in 2019, 2020. We are excited that enrollment appears to be quite strong again for the fall, amidst uncertainty of what may be happening in the fall. But we're excited that families see what we're doing as important, as a ministry, as a way that church and school can partner together to serve the Lord. And so we're excited that enrollment continues to be strong for the fall. The end of 2019-2020 was, I can only say, a unique situation. And I just wanted to share a little bit about how the school year ended due to the pandemic that swept across our world and how it affected education. There were several things that we either maybe lost out in being able to do, or we adjusted or changed. You can see those listed there. We did not do standardized testing this year. That is a way that we measure our success, I guess you would say, the way the students are learning. And we were excited to see how those standardized tests would have panned out this year, but we were not able to do those. We lost the Easter program. That was a very disappointing thing. We had some wonderful things planned for an interactive Easter program this year, and we had to cancel that. So we're hoping we can do that next year. A couple of sports seasons that did not compete. Our 8th grade graduation was done virtually. People adjusted and did what they could. And I believe that our families and our staff showed their amazing side once again. The last day of school was turned into a delivery day. We dropped off technology and books, and then later on the following week, our staff delivered gifts and awards and so on, and report cards to our families at their homes. So it was definitely a unique ending to the school year. We also adjusted the way we did our golf outing, and you can see more information about that online. It is currently going on right now in a virtual format. It's always interesting to see what is happening with our financial side, and that is a part of what we do with our annual meeting, is share some of that information with you. Our total annual budget for this past year, which actually goes through July 31, so another month and a half or so, will be a part of the 1920 budget year. And our total annual budget is just under $450,000. Through the day here, through the beginning of June, when this is being recorded, we have about $380,000 of expenses and just over $400,000 worth of income. Now, I will say that we were blessed that the payroll protection program was something that we could utilize to help to recoup some of our lost income through not having to close our daycare program and so on. There are other areas of lost income that we had, but that paycheck protection program was something that helped us and will continue to help us through the summer as well. It's interesting to note the percentages of how our income is divided. About 64% this year, which is actually a bit higher than some years, was brought in due to tuition. That percentage will actually drop a bit as we close out the fiscal year. It will probably sit in the 60 to 62% range for the year. Our fundraising and donations, about 27% of our income. We are anticipating that will rise in percentage a bit as we have our golf outing and our summer match happening currently. And so we're hopeful that increases past 30% of our income for the year. As you look at our expense, as always, our staffing, our teachers, that's where we try to put as much of our expenditures as possible. We want to make sure that our staff receives the benefit of the wonderful job that they are doing. So nearly 80% of our budget is staffing and payroll, and about 5% curriculum and supplies. Then we have other expenses as well, such as food service and insurance and rent and those kinds of things. So you can kind of see our financial situation. We feel good about what is happening financially for the school. We are in a better situation now than we were 3 or 4 years ago. And it's because of the hard work of our board making tough decisions, and also the hard work of our staff. And as many of you know, some adjustment in our tuition prices to help us meet our budget numbers each year. So we are excited for what the future holds financially for our school. As we look towards the future, it is important to note that at this point, our high school is something that we are focusing a lot of our energy and attention on. Now, the high school is actually not the largest percentage of our student body, but it is the area of growth that is most evident at this point. So we are looking forward to our first high school graduate or graduates in May of next year. That's exciting. We do have one student who is on track to be a senior and graduate in May of next year. We want to continue to build that high school program and improve both academically and the extracurricular offerings that we have been working on. We are planning to increase our technology for a 1-to-1 ratio. That is something that the remote learning that happened this spring kind of pushed us towards, and that is something that was a goal previously but became more paramount this spring. We have the excitement of implementing a student academic support program. Those pieces have been coming over the recent years with reading intervention and student support and so on. And so we're excited to continue to build that academic support program. And we are actively learning from what happened this spring and how we can use remote learning if necessary. But we also are excited, beyond excited, about returning to school in the fall for in-classroom learning. We are still working on what that looks like. We are trying to make solid plans, working with those in the local community and following guidelines, but our main goal, and we are excited to say, is returning to in-classroom learning this fall. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but that is what we believe God is leading us towards, and we want to follow his direction. Thank you for joining me remotely in this annual meeting. And I just want to tell you, if you would like to, feel free to give us some feedback. There's an online form that you can click on the link and give some feedback, ask some questions, make some comments, and I would be glad to respond to those. Either Mr. Griggs or myself will be glad to answer those questions. And we thank you again for joining us. I want to leave you with a verse that has been a part of the fabric of our school since it began in 2008. And that is from Revelation. And it reminds us that God, it's in chapter 3, verses 7 and 8, reminds us that God opens doors that men cannot shut, and God shuts doors that men cannot open. And that's a reminder to us that when we hold fast to God's word and we do not give up in serving him, that he will open and close the doors that he desires us to walk through. And so my prayer is that we would be reminded of that we would walk through the doors that God is opening for us and not try to walk through doors that God is closing for us. I thank you for being a part of Christian Life Academy, and I pray that you would be blessed by what God is doing through our school. Thank you.